Alright everybody, what is going on? My name is Nathan or ELEMENTofFROST, and I'm back here again to bring you guys this week's episode review video of last night's episode of The Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 14, The Grove. Alright guys, so to get right into this was, oh man, this was such a emotional and, I guess, oh, man, kind of heart-tearing, I guess is kind of what you could say, because, I mean, there's so many horrible things that happened in this episode. I usually get over episodes really, really fast. I know, and a lot of things happens. Shane dies, Merle, Andrea, and I usually get over them pretty fast. But this one, guys, this one was just, it's on a whole new level. So to get off starting the episode, I'll get into everything that happened later. But to start off the episode, we actually seen this in one of the sneak peeks for this episode. It was actually a Talking Dead's exclusive for this episode. And the episode kind of opens up to what turns out to be a flash forward, in a sense. It kind of opens up to be a flash forward to what's actually going to happen later in the episode, and we'll see that too. So it opens up to the Talking Dead. Excuse me, guys. I'm still a little bit sick as well, so I'm sorry about that. It opens up to the glimpse of basically the kettle on the stove, and it's kind of boiling. And then we hear the creepy ass music, like I was talking about before. And then we see a girl, which actually turned out to be Lizzie, playing in the backyard with a walker. And this was just like it kind of kept looking towards Lizzie playing with the walker, which we found out earlier that it was, and then it was kind of flashing back to maybe what happened in the previous life of just a little girl playing with their mother, or something like that. All right, so what came next? I kind of forget. Sorry, I had to remind myself there. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, after the open credits, yeah, that whole sequence was before the credits, before the intro to the show. And after the opening credits, Carol and Lizzie basically are keeping the night's first watch as Tyrese and Mika actually sit on the tracks. Basically, Carol's holding Judith, and she's basically, telling Lizzie to sleep, get some rest. Lizzie offers to take Judith a couple times if trouble arises, and it's never really a good idea to give it to Lizzie. I mean, we haven't really seen her full potential yet. We will in this episode, but just kind of looking back at what she's been doing, it's kind of like common sense. But anyways, she's basically kind of reflecting on the fact that she killed the people at the prison to save Tyrese. Tyrese was protecting Lizzie and Mika after the prison, and after all that, like the aftermath of the prison. And basically Lizzie asserts herself and basically says that I'm the one who saved Tyrese. Tyrese wouldn't be doing any saving if it wasn't for me. And she basically says, back at the prison, Tara's girlfriend, I didn't mean to shoot her in the head. And Carol basically reassures her, no, but you had to. You have to, you protected Tyrese, you saved him. That was a good call on your part, which it was. It was a good call on Lizzie's part to, shoot her in the head, protect Tyrese. Obviously, Tyrese is a really good character in the show, so kind of disappointing if he did die. But anyways, now Carol kind of opens up about Sophia, basically saying, she's sweet, and recalls that she didn't have a mean bone in her body. And Lizzie basically asks, is that why she isn't here now? And new Carol is like, that is why. But old Carol, if it was still old Carol, like the back in season 2 Carol after she lost Sophia or before, she would have been heartbroken. She would have started crying. She might have get a little bit mad and said something back to Lizzie, like, well, I don't know really like, but she would have said something back to Lizzie, sort of in a mean kind of way, kind of defending Sophia. And yeah, anyways, according to Carol, though, then okay, this is the next day. Carol treats Tyrese's scratched arm with sap from a tree, so that was very cool. That was a very, very good survival tactic. By the way, that will work. It actually is proven that that will work. You can actually sap is sort of a penicillin, I guess is what you could say. Sap is sort of a antibiotic in its own. Not only that, I mean, it's sticky. It would hold the wound together, and it would work on the infection and everything inside. So if you're ever out in the woods in the zombie apocalypse, always make sure you know how to treat your wounds. You know how to treat stuff. Sap is a really good way to do it, guys. For real though, it actually is. So just pointing that out there. If you're ever out there, you don't have bandages, you don't have peroxide or anything, antibiotics on you or anything, just stab the knife into a tree and just get sap out of it. It does work. So anyway, I think that's pretty cool actually. Now that we're kind of learning some survival tactics from The Walking Dead at the same time. Anyways, yeah. So she treats basically Tyrese. She points out Lizzie and Mika's kind of pitfalls to Tyrese, I guess. And, basically says that Lizzie may be tough. She doesn't see walkers as brain-craving threat. She basically sees them as different than other people, different people in general. Like, they're still people, they're just different. According to Carol, however, Mika is worse. Like Sophia, she doesn't have a mean bone or a body, but Mika's even worse off than Sophia was. So we can kind of see that, but at the same time, Mika will kill walkers. She just won't kill humans. I'm sure if she had the time, if she had, I'm sure she could actually learn how to kill people. I'm sure she could actually learn how to do it pretty well. Not as like a psychopath type serial killer like Dexter or anything, but to defend herself, to defend her friends, to defend her group. As she got older, she would definitely learn to be able to do that. So anyways, Carol basically explains to them the ending of Tom Sawyer, because Lizzie was actually reading Herschel's copy of the book in the prison, and she's basically explaining to them the ending of it. Mika wants to be like Huck Finn, where Lizzie's kind of thinks of herself more of a... Lizzie kind of thinks of herself as Huck Finn, and Mika as a Tom Sawyer, and Mika wants to be like Huck Finn, if that makes sense. I don't really know why I brought that into the review video. I just thought it was kind of interesting if you guys ever read that book. But if you haven't, then I guess that probably just went right over your head. But anyways... yeah, that's basically it for that part. Mika agrees with her older sister, noticing that Lizzie is more like Huck Finn because she's not even grossed out by the sight of dead rabbits. Yeah. Anyways, we can clearly see that was kind of a flashback to what happened in the prison with the rabbit kind of strapped to the board and opened up inside and just really fucked up. But anyways, Carol and Mika now searching for water. Tyrese, Judith, and Lizzie are on guard. Tyrese hands Judith over to Lizzie. They were actually playing I Spy. That was the actual next sneak peek from AMC.com and the AMC YouTube channel. Tyrese and Lizzie are basically playing that old game. I Spy. And just as it was about Tyrese's turn, basically Tyrese handed the baby over, seen a walker coming down the tracks, and had to go handle that real quickly. So he pulls out his hammer, but before he can basically swing, Lizzie stops him. The walker actually fell down kind of by the train tracks, like on the train tracks. He probably got his leg stuck in the tracks or something like that. He fell down, he couldn't get back up, and he was about to kill the walker, and Lizzie basically stopped him. So this was actually pretty cool. Lizzie basically pleads with him not to give it the true death, which is which is another clue on why Lizzie is pretty much insane. But it was kind of a cool flashback moment to what other people said in the prison before, like Herschel when he was trying to teach Carl out in the woods picking the elderberries for the elderberry tea. He was basically saying, you can kill walkers, you don't have to kill them all the time. Anyways, yeah. Meanwhile, Carol is basically giving Mika kind of a stern lesson uh, in basically surviving. Running away won't cut it in case of an emergency. It didn't work for Sophia. Mika insists that she isn't messed up like her sister. She can basically try to kill walkers. She can at least try to kill walkers, unlike Lizzie. But live people are the ones that are hard to kill for her. She can't kill people. She could never kill people, no matter what's going to happen to them or their group. She couldn't kill people. Basically, Carol's frustrated now, and she basically, like, eventually their lesson is interrupted uh, as they happen upon a secluded homestead and grove. This was actually a pecan grove, by the way, guys. So yeah, they come across this grove, and Lizzie basically says, not Lizzie, sorry, Mika actually says, everything happens for a reason. They seen this grove, they ran off to the grove, and yeah, they actually um, eventually got to the grove. They got Tyrese, Lizzie, and Judith there as well. So as Tykese, wow, I totally said that wrong. I was about to say Carol, and then I was going to say Tyrese. Anyways, moving on. As Tyrese and Carol basically scout the property, obviously for walkers or living people, Lizzie, which is, again, holding Judith, and Mika basically keeps watch. Uh, Lizzie's kind of looking at the baby's grave because there's a few graves outside of the grove, like the actual farmhouse. There's a few graves out there, and there's one with like little baby shoes on it. So we obviously know that was a really little baby's grave, which is basically just what you want from someone holding a baby. Yeah, for sure. Mika basically tries to convince Lizzie that walkers aren't people. Uh, you know, they're not people. People are people. Walkers, they're dead. They're not people anymore. She calmly shakes her head and murmurs, like, "You're all wrong, all of you." Now, unlike her sister, Mika kind of makes a little bit of progress. There was a walker that came over the railing trying to basically attack Lizzie and Judith and Mika. There was a walker that came over the railing, and Mika took a little bit to take it down. Not too good of a shot with her gun, but she eventually did take it down. She eventually did shoot in the head. So she did take the walker down. So yeah. Anyways, moving on now. I know there was a lot more scenes in that as well, but we don't have to really go through all of it. So now the next morning, basically, Carol prepares what actually was the flash forward in the starting of the episode, which is like the copper kettle to boil water. And this is where we can kind of assume, obviously this must be a gas stove or some sort of gas stove, or kerosene, something like that, because obviously isn't electricity or anything like that nowadays. So yeah, she prepares basically to boil water in the copper kettle. This develops into the opening scene. Like I said, the opening scene is with flash forward of what's going to happen in the episode, and it's Lizzie playing tag with a zombie, with Wogger, guys. So we eventually found out that it was Lizzie and not just some random chick. Carol runs out to the yard, knife at the ready. Lizzie basically pleads to keep her friend alive because she thinks this fucking walker is her friend. I don't know. She's just batshit crazy. Carol basically pushes her out of the way, and Carol basically ignores her, pushes her out of the way, stabs the walker in the head, and this is when Lizzie basically melts the fuck down. She starts screaming, basically saying, "You killed her, what if I killed you? You don't understand. She was my friend." like I personally took notice of what if I killed you? You know, uh, you're my friend. What if I killed you? It's kind of a, you know what I mean? That's where you can kind of really see the confusion and the sort of, I guess, craziness or sociopath type deal within her. You know, you're my friend. What if I killed you? Obviously, you wouldn't be too fucking happy about that. Uh, so she's kind of comparing Carol's life to that of a walker. Obviously, the walker's already dead, doesn't have a life. All it knows is how to eat and how to survive. Carol, on the other hand, has a life, has emotions, has everything that a human can have, and she's sitting there comparing Carol to the walker. Especially when Carol taught her everything. You know, Carol's not just some random person. She's the one who took care of Lizzie's dad. She's the one who put him down. She's the one who taught Lizzie and Mika everything on how to survive. She's the one who taught them how to shoot a gun, how to use knives, how to do everything they have to be able to do in a zombie apocalypse. Carol's the one who taught them. So for to Lizzie kind of, you know, compare their lives, Carol and the Walker's lives, is just, it gets really dark. So apparently not too bothered by Lizzie's outburst, Carol basically takes Mika on a hunting trip later that day. Mika notices, now this is where it kind of gets interesting. This part right here isn't interesting in its own, but after a while, when it comes back to this part later, I will definitely obviously explain that, but this is where it kind of gets a little deeper in the part of character development. So Mika basically notices that the nearby fire is still burning, as black smoke can be still seen rising in the air. Mika explains that she likes science. She basically says that, the reason why the fire is still going is because there's black smoke. If the fire wasn't still burning, then the smoke would be white, which is completely true. Because if it wasn't still burning, the white smoke is the aftermath of what has already burned up. Obviously, that would be releasing the rest of the carbon dioxide into the air and the rest of the oxygen from the fire into the air, so that the fire would obviously be out. Now, on the other hand, if it was still burning, then it would be releasing more carbon dioxide than oxygen, rather than more oxygen than carbon dioxide. So that's why that is. So I can tell you that much at least. I mean, I'm sure Mika probably knew a little bit about it, but that's what I know. So yeah, now Mika obviously took notice of that. Carol tries to instill kind of a harsh version of survival, I guess. The survival rules, I guess is what you could say. Now aware just how much Lizzie will have to rely on Mika, rather than vice versa, because Lizzie is crazy as fuck. She won't kill a walker. Obviously realizing now that she compared the walker's life to Carol's, she didn't want the walker to die. She thought the walker was her fucking friend. She's just crazy, and we recently thought Mika was going to be the one that's weak. We thought Lizzie was the one that was all about survival. We thought Lizzie was the one that knew how to use the weapons more than Mika. Which in a sense she kind of does, but at the same time, she doesn't want to kill walkers. She's going to have to rely on Mika, she's going to have to rely on Carol, she's going to have to rely on other people to keep her alive from walkers. But when it comes to living people, she doesn't have a problem with that. Which I honestly don't understand. I mean, we see these living people, she doesn't have a problem killing those, but she has a problem killing the walkers. She doesn't think the walkers are dead, she thinks they're just different than other people. Now, whether or not she might be comparing herself to those walkers because she thinks she's probably different than other people, that could be another reason why she only kills people and not the walkers, is because she probably thinks the walkers are similar to her. Kind of doesn't really have a purpose in life. Kind of relies on basic survival needs. It doesn't really have any sort of reason to keep on living, but they do anyway. If you guys know what I mean, she might be kind of comparing her life, herself, to the walkers, and killing the ones that are not like her. if you know what I mean by that. It's kind of hard to explain, sort of in a sociopathic, psychopathic way to you guys, but that's probably the best way I can kind of put it. But anyways, next. By the way, if you guys haven't noticed, this episode has been completely on Carol, Tyrese, Lizzie, Mika, and Judith. As I predicted actually in my prediction video. So real quickly before I go on to the next segment of this episode, go check out my prediction video, guys. I uploaded it last Thursday for this episode. I really recommend you guys go check that out. It's a really fun prediction video. I got a lot of predictions right. As in, this episode was nothing but on Carol, Tyrese, Lizzie, Mika, and Judith. There was no one else in this episode. By the way, guys, this was the third episode in a row that we have not seen Rick. That's pretty extreme, guys. I know Rick's like the main character in the show, right? But it's actually not too bad not seeing Rick around. I mean, if he did die, I think the show would still be doing all right, because the last 3 episodes have been pretty fucking good. So yeah, I cannot wait for next week's episode. But anyway, moving on to the next segment now. Lizzie basically runs off now with something in her hands. We didn't know what exactly it was at first. Mika started to follow her, and she follows her back to the tracks, and where the walker that Lizzie basically told Tyrese, we don't have to kill walkers all the time. We can kill them sometimes, we don't have to kill them all the time. That walker was still on the train tracks. Oh, excuse me there. The walker was still on the train tracks, and she is now feeding that walker mice, rats. Which now obviously we can kind of connect together of who was feeding the who was feeding the walker's rats back at the prison. Obviously, it was Lizzie. Now Lizzie has this box. She pulled out a mouse. She pulled out a mouse, and fed the walker on the train tracks, and basically says, kind of talking to it, and saying, don't worry, I'll get more. And this is basically confirming suspicions of the of everybody, kind of confirming the suspicions of, what was going on back at the prison. So, we obviously didn't know exactly who it was. I mean, I always had my suspicions back at the prison of who was feeding the walkers and who was cutting up the fucking rabbit back in episode 8, Too Far Gone. Obviously, before the governor attacked, there was a rabbit kind of strapped to a board. Or nailed to a board, I guess, and kind of cut open and just completely mutilate it, and I don't know, it was really weird. But anyways, Mika basically kind of scolds her, I guess, basically saying, when we were giving them names back at the prison, we were pretending things weren't bad. Now things are bad, and basically Lizzie's having none of it. She says basically, you were pretending. But me, I always knew the truth. I can hear them. She's the only one who knows the truth about the walkers, and she basically says, I know, I can hear them. Which is even, more of crazy in my eyes. She's just, completely batshit crazy. Apparently she can hear the walkers now. I mean, I can hear them too, but mostly what I hear is... but anyways, Guys, I really don't know where she's going with this, but she does hear them, apparently, and, yeah. So, now, caught up in her delusions, basically, Lizzie says what the walkers want, she basically says that the walkers are wanting her to change, to be like them. She reaches towards the walker's mouth, about to be bitten, and she says, maybe I should change. And it's actually replayed at the end of this episode. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And Carol back in the episode Indifference, basically urged Mika to change and not be afraid. Now I don't think this is what she had in mind. She obviously had in mind, getting changed into a walker, being different. In a sense of what she likes to be called different. She says the walkers are different. They're not dead. They're just people, and they're different. So anyways, now, that night, Carol and Lizzie... Carol, Lizzie, and Mika are basically cracking pecans, and Carol asks, understand what they are now. Now, this was after actually a walker attacked, because Lizzie and Mika were actually out on the railway tracks, and they were out on the railway tracks, and we know what was burning, uh, up in the forest. We obviously seen the smoke, the black smoke, and we know it was burning now, and it was walkers. So whether or not, I got to actually thinking, what is this that's burning? Obviously, it was walkers, but at the same time, it could have been completely something different that actually started the fire. Now, if we think back to episode 12, the first episode with Daryl and Beth, completely alone. You guys know how they burnt down the little cabin in the woods. I'm thinking, maybe that's what was still on fire. Maybe that's what was burning. I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog barking. I apologize for that, but I'm going to just keep going real quick. I know it's not too loud with the dog barking. I apologize. Someone just rang the doorbell. Anyways, moving on with it now. We obviously know what was burning now. We don't know if it was the cabin, but we know it was walkers. So it could be a kind of a link between stories, and we'll maybe find about that later. But anyways, suddenly a host of burned walkers march towards the sisters back on the train tracks. They run back towards the Grove's fence, and Mika basically, her tights actually get caught up in the barbed wire. And a walker actually grabs her leg. The walker's just about to bite Mika, and this is actually what we've seen in the promo for this episode as well. When I said that it looked kind of like Carol was walking away from Mika, kind of leaving her there to get away. That's not the case. Not the case at all. It actually looked to be kind of, assuming to do that. That was the promo, kind of, I guess trolling us, I suppose is what you could say. But anyways, yeah, they run back to the Grove's friends. Her tights get caught up in the barbed wire. Walker grabs a leg, and just before the walker actually bites her, Lizzie actually pulls Mika towards her, and out of the walker's clutches. Tyrese, Carol, Mika, and even Lizzie now defend themselves from the walkers, shooting each one down. So now we kind of see sort of a better side to Lizzie. Maybe she's finally smartened up. Maybe she's finally seen the error of her ways, and maybe she knows that she has to kill walkers now to survive. They're obviously not all good. They're not good at all. Maybe she's finally realized this. That's what we were all thinking at the time. And that was sure as shit not the case. So, now back at the barn, or I guess the farmhouse, back at the Grove, they crack pecans that night, and Carol basically asks Lizzie, "You understand what they are now?" And Lizzie replies, I know what I have to do now. I know." Carol assumes basically that means yes, she does understand that walkers are now, like, what the walkers are now. Like, she kind of understands, hopefully. But again, not the case. As Carol learns the hard way, it's gonna be really dangerous. So, anyways, the next day, Tyrese and Carol go deer hunting, leaving Lizzie, Mika, and Judith on their own again. For the most of this episode, Tyrese has been on the back burner, kind of relegated to carrying Judith and having nightmares, not really being a huge part of the episode. This is when that kind of changes around, kind of reverses, and Tyrese starts being a really key character in this episode. And let me just say, really great acting on the part of Tyrese and Carol during this scene, because this was just really emotional. And it was really good. It was really fun to watch, I guess, kind of as they both, I guess Carol kind of was squirming as, Tyrese was saying these things. But anyways, yeah, they're talking now. It basically kind of centers on Carol's relationship with Lizzie and Mika, as well as the Samuels, like, kind of family, I guess. And the portion that really doesn't involves Tyrese is framed kind of from Carol's perspective. And this is kind of like, I kind of compared it to what she's kind of struggling through and what the audience is struggling through. Because obviously the audience constantly wants Carol to reveal to Tyrese that, I'm the one that killed Karen and David. And obviously that's kind of her thought process. You know, I want to reveal to him, but I don't want to die. I guess is what she could say. But anyways, Tyrese basically confesses that he dreams now about Karen. His nightmares involve her death at the hands of some stranger. Obviously, he still doesn't know who did it. No mention of his sister Sasha. Maybe Sasha and Tyrese similarly don't want to talk about losing their sibling. I guess that's kind of a way to kind of think of it as well, because Sasha's not really that heartbroken over Tyrese, as we see in the previous episode, and Tyrese isn't really that heartbroken about Sasha either. So yeah. Excuse me there. Anyways, he's kind of looking for the right moment to carry out his vengeance on somebody, and he grips his gun kind of like suspiciously, and like he's ready for the right moment kind of to aim at Carol, but it's not really there, if you guys know what I mean. Like Carol started to sort of start crying as Tyrese was talking about this. You know, in my opinion, I think Tyrese kind of has an idea of probably who did it. Now, Carol, as Tyrese is talking about Karen and David's death, you know, and they're in the nightmares and everything like that, Carol's kind of, you know, crying. She's starting to, you know, show her emotional side towards it. Now, she basically says Tyrese, and then it kind of hangs there for a second, and then she basically says that, you know, maybe they're there to constantly remind us of, you know, our faults and things like that, because, you know, Tyrese is kind of contemplating, you know, why am I constantly seeing Karen's death at the hands of some stranger? Why am I constantly dreaming? And just as Carol's about to tell Tyrese, Tyrese basically says, you know, maybe you're seeing this, maybe we're all seeing this, to kind of remind us of what we've been through, to remind us of what we always have to do to keep living. So yeah, that was a very emotional part of that. But anyways, now they return to the homestead, and this is when the episode got really dark, guys. I'm telling you. Wow. It's really dark. So they come back to the homestead, and they see Lizzie standing up, kind of by the back side of the house, and she's standing up, and she's holding a knife in her hand. Her hands are all bloody. The knife's bloody. Carol and Tyrese kind of run up to Lizzie, and they discover Mika dead on the ground behind Lizzie, and this is when just shit gets really, really crazy and really, really emotional, I guess. They see Mika dead behind Lizzie, and Lizzie basically says, "Don't worry, she'll come back." Lizzie shrugs. I didn't hurt her brain, and she you know, she stabs her numerous times in the torso. And Judith is on the blanket, on like the picnic blanket beside that, and kind of crawling around, and she's basically saying that, you know, Judith can change too. She basically later adds that I was just about to. And Carol kind of moves towards Lizzie, you know, kind of tries to take the knife out of her hand, and Lizzie pulls her gun on Carol and Tyrese. And Carol's Lizzie wants to wait for Mika to come back, you know, to say to Carol, you know, they're people, but they're just different. That's it. They're just different. She wants them to get this. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but this is kind of her frustration with it. She wants them to understand that they're only different. They're not dead. They're not, you know, they're not dead. They're just different. This is what they want. This is what she wants them to do. And in order to do that, she pulls the gun on Carol. Doesn't shoot her or anything, but she pulls the gun on Carol and says, you know, we have to wait. Carol basically promises her that she's going to wait for Mika to change, uh, and she's going to tie her up. She basically says, "Go with Tyrese, take Judith and Lizzie back to the house. It's not safe for Judith right now, because, Mika's going to turn. It's not safe for Judith, so take them back to the house. I will wait, I promise." So as they start moving on, Carol basically lets herself cry for a short moment. Then she unsheaths her knife and, you know, obviously doesn't let Mika change at all. This got really, really dark, guys, and sad and emotional. I was honestly I was really sad that Mika died. I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I think it could have been really cool, I guess, if Mika survived. But in the comic book, we kind of seen this too with the two boys. Ben obviously having killed his own brother in the comic book. This is kind of a way of kind of attributing that to the TV show. It's kind of the TV show's version of it. And yeah, anyways, after Tyrese now basically guarding Judith in his arms, he explains to Carol what Lizzie told him. And he basically confirms that Lizzie was the walker feeder as well as the rat, you know, vivisector, I guess, or vivisector. Basically dissecting the rabbits and, feeding the rats to the walkers. And she told Tyrese that she was just having fun when she was dissecting the bunny or the rabbit back in the prison in episode 8. Tyrese basically speculates that maybe it was perhaps Lizzie who killed Karen and David, and Carol shakes her head, reassuring them that, if it was Lizzie, that she would have let him turn if she killed them. She wouldn't have killed them and then dragged them out and burned their bodies. She would have let them turn. So now, after kind of a short, silence, they reach the conclusion that there's three possible solutions. Lizzie and Carol leave together, leave Tyrese and Judith there at the homestead, because obviously they aren't safe. Judith isn't safe with Lizzie around anymore. Or Tyrese and Judith leave. That's obviously not a safe idea either. Both of those ideas would not work. They're on both occasions. They're on their own. Tyrese is with Judith. He has to care for a baby. Has to survive on his own. Same thing with Carol. We got her risking her life constantly for Lizzie. Lizzie just being a psychopathic fucking crazy face, I guess. And they come to the last conclusion. This was the last option they had, and she basically notes that Lizzie would have let them turned if she killed them. And then after that, she basically says, she can't be around other people. Meaning, basically, it's time to let Lizzie go, I guess. So we didn't really know what this meant at the time. Whether they were going to send her off on her own, maybe they were going to leave her there at the homestead and leave themselves, or what they were going to do. And this is kind of when Old Yeller comes into play, I guess. There was a lot of jokes on Twitter about this. This was pretty funny. Well, not like the subject in general. It was pretty dark, but I mean, just the Old Yeller jokes was fucking hilarious. So, anyways, Carol takes Lizzie out to the pasture, back where they were picking wildflowers for Mika. She was basically saying, let's pick some flowers for Mika for when she comes back. Mika would like that, and they start doing that. And Lizzie kind of realizes that Carol's a little bit upset with her. She doesn't think it's for killing Mika. She doesn't think it's for killing Mika, letting her turn. She doesn't think it's for that. That's not what a psychopath would do. She thinks she's mad at her or sad or upset with her that she pointed her gun at Carol. She gives no mention of killing her sister. She doesn't give any mention of that at all. She thinks she's just mad at her for pointing the gun at her, and that's about it. So she tells Lizzie, Carol tells Lizzie to look at the flowers in order to calm her down, because she starts crying about how she's done wrong with Carol pointing the gun at her. She tells her to look at the flowers. As Carol basically cries, tears streaming down her face, Carol takes out her gun and basically shoots her in the back of the head. So yeah, now this part is also what we see in the promo. We thought this part, her kind of walking away, up close face shot of Carol crying. We thought this was of her abandoning Mika, back when Mika got her, her leg stuck in the fence. We thought this was of her abandoning Mika, but apparently this was a completely different scene, which is a good way to tie it in. They kind of trolled us. They made her think that, made us think that Carol was gonna, abandon them and stuff like that. So she returns to the house now. She basically spots another deer nearby, and this is kind of a way to think back towards Mika's innocence. She can't bring herself to see the end of another innocent life, because earlier on when she took Mika out hunting, Mika couldn't kill the deer. She was taking aim at the deer, she couldn't kill it. The deer was innocent, she couldn't do it. And when Carol kind of seen her after Mika's and Lizzie's death, this is kind of her way of looking back to Mika, kind of, kind of being taught by Mika that, not everything has to die. And that was kind of a lighter feeling to the episode, but at the same time, it just kind of brought more sadness and emotions to it. So now Tyrese and Carol are basically now adding 2 more small graves to the makeshift cemetery on the grounds, and that's when that scene ends right there. Obviously, those graves would be for Lizzie and Mika, and Tyrese assumingly carries out Mika's body, sets it next to the grave, and starts putting it in. And yeah, now, anyway, that night, Tyrese and Carol are basically sitting in front of a table. The puzzle remains relatively untouched before them, kind of like on the table where they're sitting. The puzzle was actually worked on by Lizzie and Mika. They were kind of, playing with it on the table and everything like that. And this is when we finally get what we always wanted. Carol telling Tyrese that she is the one that killed Karen and David. So Carol pushes her gun over on the table towards Tyrese, gives him the gun, and basically says she confesses that she killed Karen and David. Tyrese basically grips the table like he's about to lose it, but he doesn't really spew any rage or vengeance. He kind of cries. He asks if Karen felt any pain. Carol replied no. He grips the gun for a moment and basically says, what was it quick? He grips the gun for a moment. He lets go. Carol says no. No. Carol says yes, that it was quick. And, she didn't feel anything. She explains that she wanted to protect everybody in the prison from the virus spreading. The fall of the prison community. And now the deaths of Lizzie and Mika. And after the spread of the virus, Tyrese's initial anger and violent reaction has basically dissipated. Basically stating, after the spread of the virus, after all those people died, after the fall of the prison, losing his sister, losing everybody in the prison that he's cared about, and now the deaths of Lizzie and Mika, Tyrese, he doesn't want to lose anybody else, this is kind of how I thought of it. Tyrese doesn't want to lose anybody else. He doesn't want to lose Carol. She's the only one who he's got left. He's got Judith, but, honestly, that wouldn't be really a thing. She's the only one Tyrese has got left, and he knows that. So he lets go of it and basically says, I forgive you. I'm never going to forget. It happened. You did it. You feel it. I know you do. It's a part of you now. Me too. But I forgive you. So yeah, that's what happened there. Tyrese forgave her, and I take this as out of pity. He's basically stating that, Carol, it's a part of you. You did it. You feel it. I know you do. It's a part of you now. You'll never be able to let it go. You know that you killed 2 people. You know you did wrong. It's a part of you now. Me too, but I forgive you. He's never going to forget, but he forgives her. So, while Mika and Tyrese previously entertained basically thoughts of staying at the Grove, too much has basically happened since then, and Carol basically confessed the truth about Karen and David. Mika and Lizzie are dead. So they ultimately abandon the house in the Grove and continue down the tracks towards Terminus, as Carol as Carol's encouraging words to Lizzie from the episode Indifference earlier in the season return. And they go as follows. Lizzie, I'm not afraid to kill. I'm just afraid. Carol, you can't be. And then Lizzie says, how? And Carol basically says, you fight it and fight it. You don't give up. And then one day, you just change. We all change. And now with the deaths of Sophia, Lizzie, Mika, Carol's basically lost all of her children, all of her daughters in a sense. And after Sophia, after her death, she changed in this harder shell, tougher new Carol that is focused on survival and just really up there with the survival techniques, teaching, trying to not lose another girl. She's now lost Lizzie and Mika, but now she's still having to care for Judith. So what I'm wondering is what she's going to change into now. So we've previously seen, obviously, she hasn't, it hasn't worked out with the innocent, with the innocent character Carol. She lost Sophia because of that. It hasn't worked out with the, nitty-gritty survival techniques that she taught Lizzie and Mika. It hasn't worked out for that either. Lizzie and Mika are now dead. What will she change in now? What will she do to protect Judith in this life? If she ever actually grows up, obviously. I mean, she's still a baby, but obviously she has to grow up sometime. So what will happen? Will Carol still be around? Will she change into a different character? Will this emotional side of the loss of Lizzie and Mika, will that hurt her? Will that make her stronger in any way? These are kind of all questions that we kind of have to ask about Carol, because there's been so much character development in Carol. It's just been absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, that's it for this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. And if you do, I really appreciate you guys, liking up this video. And like I said, if you did like this video, share it around with your friends. Tell me in the comment section below what you guys thought of this episode. This has been a long-ass review video, but it has been a really, really awesome episode. And hopefully you guys did enjoy. This was a 47-minute video. So I do really hope you guys enjoy. And I guess I will talk to you guys on the next one. Alright guys, until then, my prediction video of The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 15, Us, is coming this Thursday, March the 20th. And until then, that's basically it for now. And there's only 2 episodes left this season, guys. 2 episodes. Episode 15 and 16. Episode 15, Us, and Episode 16, I believe it's called A. I don't know if that's a placeholder, or I don't know if that's the actual episode name. But anyways, that's the season finale. Coming up this week, coming up next week, and then we're off until October again. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this review video. If you did, hit it up with a like, share it around with your friends. Tell me in the comment section below what you guys think of the episode. I thought it was a fantastic episode, and I will talk to you guys on the next video. Alright guys, bye.